What's up, everyone? It's me, your boy Ryan, aka Clutch Sports Talk. It's Wednesday, so you know what it means. It's another edition of Clutch Sports Talk with me, Ryan Flowers Live. Got a great show in store for you guys today. I got my boy Barry Grant Jr., the host and creator of the All Even podcast. He'll be joining me later on today to talk about stuff going on in the NBA, and maybe I might spout some other things at him as well. But he's always a good follow, a good listen. So sit back and relax and sit back and relax and enjoy the show. This Clutch Sports Talk with me, Ryan Flowers. Let's go. Clutch Sports Talk with Ryan Flowers, presented by All Pro Digital, the future of sports media content. Let's go. Welcome in, everyone, man. It's Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. Hope you guys are having a great week. Hope everything is going well for you guys. But thanks again for joining me on another edition of Clutch Sports Talk with me, Ryan Flowers. But before I get into the show, man, I just want to make sure you guys know where to catch me at. You can follow me on YouTube under Clutch Sports Talk. You can also hit me up on Instagram at clutch.sports.talk and at Twitter at clutch_talk. And also hit up the All Pro Digital Sports YouTube page as well. They have me. We have other talented personalities that are part of the whole all pro digital sports team, man. We got gamers, we got baseball dudes, we got everybody in there. So make sure you hit that up as well. Also on Instagram at all pro digital as well on Instagram. But other than that, man, hope you guys are doing well. It's the season, man. It's Christmas time coming around. For those of you who celebrate that, if you do something else, you got whatever else you got going on. We appreciate you guys for taking the time and joining me today. But I got a lot to get into today, and I want to hurry up and get to it because I want to get to my boy Barry Grant, who's patiently waiting right now in the green room, man. He's always exciting, always good to talk to him. But before I get started, I want to talk about some things that happened in the NFL this past Sunday, man. It was a crazy weekend, a few upsets, and even leading up until Monday. Not so much Tuesday, there was no upset there. But where can I start? I guess I'll start with the New York Giants. The New York Football Giants traveled to Seattle, and they beat, the favorite Seattle Seahawks now. Now that pretty much put them in a position to actually win the NFC East. I think they're in a battle with the Washington Football Team, who also had an impressive win on Monday night against the Steelers, which I'll get to that here in a second. But the Giants, man, they got a great defense, and they were missing their quarterback, Colt McCoy, came in, did what he needed to do. Moving forward, the other thing I need to talk about too is just, are the Cleveland Browns a contender now? No, I don't think so. I think Tennessee just had a bad game. They weren't ready to play. And Baker and his gang were ready to play. Now they had a good strategy. They had a good system. I didn't think the score was going to be what it was. Some people did have the Browns winning the game. I, for one, did not have the Browns winning the game. I had the Titans winning the game, but the Titans just weren't ready to play. But the Titans aren't now. Now it confirms to me that they're not the the team who I thought they were, at least last year. They're a good, solid team, but the Browns went in there into Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken, and actually did work on them. The other thing I want to get into is is you know is the whole the NFL, man, and maybe it's always been like this, and maybe I'm just paying more attention to it now, but you got to go week to week on some of these things, man. Like I see people have power rankings, and that's cool, and that's great, and I appreciate all that. But power rankings to me, man, I feel like to me personally now, because I did it one time and I was like, I'm probably never doing this again. I'm not gonna say they're a waste of time, but it's so hard because football is almost like boxing for those who watch fights and all that. Styles make the fights and styles make the games, and it just depends on what teams are playing. It can affect how the game is played and the outcome as well. And so it's hard to say that, well, this team is should be slotted at number two or this team should be number one. And for instance, I look at Green Bay. Green Bay, I forgot their record. I mean, they're like 9-3 or 9-2 or whatever their record is. They're a good team, but when they play the top teams, the top physical teams, they lose. But then they beat up on these other teams like Minnesota, Philly, whatever. But so are they a good team or are they a bad team? I don't know. It's hard for me to just come out and just say this is the best team. You look at how the Patriots, not the Patriots, the Chiefs, how they struggled a little bit on Sunday night against Denver. I mean, are they still the number one team? Yeah, they're probably the best team. And there's reasons why, because, well, their offense, they have Patrick Mahomes, they have Andy Reid. It is what it is. You look at the Steelers, who were undefeated up until last week, Monday, this past Monday. Now all of a sudden, are they a trash team now, or have they always been a trash team and now they finally just got exposed? So a plethora of things to talk about in the NFL, but those are just my takeaways with the NFL, especially this past weekend. So, I mean, like I said, no offense to anyone that does power rankings and you enjoy power rankings, that's great. I'm just not the one to do that because I feel like things change from week to week. So, sticking in the NFL, believe in Baker time. Is it time? Do people get on his bandwagon now? He had a great game. I think he threw for like 3 touchdowns, which is like the first time I think he's done that. Baker Mayfield is not a bad quarterback. Now he's been in a system now where there's a lot of turnover in Cleveland as far as like their management, their coaching, all their other staff that they have there that's pertinent to winning a football game. Winning in the NFL is hard. So I'll cut him some slack. He does have a lot of talent on his team, and I think now he's got the right coach in Kevin Stefanski that has implemented the style of football and the brand of football that they need to do in order to win in Cleveland. They run the ball. They're not going to ask Baker Mayfield to go out and win a game for him. Now, he's kind of proven maybe he can go out and win a playoff game because a few weeks ago you would ask, well, do you believe in Baker? So most people would probably be like, hell no, I don't believe in him. But after see, here we go again. After last week's performance, now you got everybody and their mama talking about, oh well, I always believed in Baker. I thought Baker was this, Baker was that, yada 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 yada. I am still gonna hold to my gun, stick to my gun, and say that he's not an all the way trash quarterback, but he's not someone that I think that you would want to franchise or build a franchise around. Now, the Browns are in a precarious situation because his contract's up soon. Do they pay him the money? What do they do? But given Stefanski's offensive scheme with running the ball with Nick Chubb and playing sound defense and complementary football, the Browns appear to be in contention. Now, I will say this: they do have a meeting with the Steelers here soon. Now, the Steelers are kind of struggling, and I'll get to that in here in a second. But they lost it in the last time, and it wasn't pretty. Now they have a chance to kind of exact their revenge, and it'll be an opportunity for Baker and the Browns to step their game up and to let people actually see if they're for real or not. Now, are they going to win the Super Bowl? No, they're not going to win the Super Bowl. But anything is better than what they've had previously in Cleveland. I mean, I forgot what the stat is on how many quarterbacks have started in Cleveland, and then how many playoff appearances. I think it's been like almost I think 14, 15 years since they made a playoff or something like that. Some kind of crazy number. But, do I believe in Baker? To a certain extent. It just depends on who's coaching, what the personnel is around him, and therefore I can kind of go and make my estimated association about what he is. But right now, is he a franchise quarterback? No, he's not. But I'll give him credit. They are 9-3. They're looking decent, pretty good, but they're not contending in the AFC. So sticking with quarterbacks, we got a quarterback change now in Philly. The Wentz is benched. They're moving on with Jalen Hurts. He's the guy. I mean, they drafted him for a reason. They wanted to make sure, Wentz could go out and do his thing. Now, to Wentz's credit, he's got a lot of stuff going on that team overall. Got a lot of injuries, and that's not an excuse because a lot of teams in the NFL at this point in the season have injuries. This offensive line is in tatters. They release guys, they brought guys back, they're pulling guys from Costco and Sam's Club to go and block for this dude. Their weapons haven't been all together, and they haven't drafted particularly really well. I mean, they went out, they could have got Metcalf on that team. And they go out and get that, I forgot the name of the kid, from Jalen Rager from TCU. He's basically like a glorified punt returner, kick returner, special teams kind of dude. So obviously the head coach, he's brought up on questions now because, yeah, you got a Super Bowl, and I get all that, but that was a few years ago now. And anything we know about the NFL is that it's what have you done lately? And they haven't done much lately. Given all the talent that they have had and that they have acquired, they haven't done a lot of winning, and which doesn't happen a lot in Philly, but they did win the Super Bowl, before my Cowboys did, since the Cowboys haven't won nothing in, I don't know, God knows, 30 years or so. But it's time to move on to Hurts, I think. A lot of people would probably disagree with me, but here's the thing. Financially, they're in a tough spot because you paid Carson Wentz up until, I think, 2024, I think, for $109 million. So you kind of stuck with him. Now, you can try to trade him and move him off, which there would be some teams that would probably kick the tires on a trade for him, particularly the Indianapolis Colts. Why? Because Frank Reich is there. And who is Frank Reich? Well, he's only the guy that helped orchestrate them winning the Super Bowl. Now, he's gone. They haven't been the same. Wentz hasn't been the same. So that's the team that to think about there. But then on top of that, you drafted Jalen Hurts very early or high in the draft, You gotta have to see what he is, what's he's all about. Now he came in on some mop up duty the other day against the Packers. He threw for a touchdown, but I don't really count that. I'm not gonna say, oh my God, Jalen Hurts is the next coming of Randall Cunningham or any other quarterback. But I will say this: that they need to see what they got because Wentz he may be in shambles, man. Like a few podcasts or a few episodes I had ago, I kind of mentioned that maybe psychologically he is not the same guy. After Nick Foles came in, took over the job, helped him win the Super Bowl, there was like a decision: do we pick Foles? Do we pick Wentz? And a lot of players wanted Foles, and some players wanted Wentz. Now they moved off of Foles. He is where he's at. Wentz is where he's at now, and it's not looking good. So I don't know. Good luck to Wentz, but Jalen Hurts hopefully go out there and do his thing, man. Moving on, we got the Steelers. So they finally lost their game, their first game, which I did call. If you, for those of you who follow me on Instagram, and you know I do my morning Sunday pregame, I did call the Washington football team to go in and beat the Steelers. Now I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, like I'm this the great Nostradamus and I knew this was coming, but I will say this: the Steelers had been struggling. They've been playing a lot of close games that they shouldn't have no business being close in, particularly the Cowboys game. They ended up pulling that one off. But then even after that, like their offense hasn't really gotten, they're not balanced. They didn't run the ball efficiently the other night. I think they only rushed for 31 yards. James Conner wasn't in the game. He was hurt or was on the COVID list. Benny Snell is, I don't know, he's not the dude there. But there's no emphasis on the running game. So they're asking, your old quarterback to go out there and throw 40, 45 times a game. That's not a recipe. That's not Pittsburgh Steelers football. For those of you who followed Pittsburgh for so many years, you know one thing. One thing is for sure that they do in Pittsburgh, and that's run the football. And they're not running the football right now. It's a passing game. It's pretty. It's great. You got the Claypool kid. You got Juju out there. You got Deontay Johnson. You got James Washington. But Eric Ebron. But they're not running the football. Now their defense is still pretty stout. Now they got some injuries, especially in the linebackers position. You lost Bush. You lost Bud Dupree. I think Spillane, the middle linebacker, he was out on Monday night. He got injured in that game. So you're down some edge rushers. And the secondary isn't like the best secondary. They're formidable, but you need that pass rush up front. And Washington had a very good game plan for them. They just played it safe. Washington doesn't have a great offense, obviously, with Alex Smith, but their defense. I mean, they invested so many high draft picks on that defensive line. It's ridiculous how many top 5 defensive linemen they have from college going into the NFL on that particular defensive line. And they got after Ben Roethlisberger. And that, to me, that's a part of the reason why they won. But are the Steelers exposed? I don't think they're so much exposed. I think we knew what they were. We just were. I didn't think they were going to run the table. And if you thought they were going to run the table, well, I guess you're really surprised at this point. But I didn't think they were going to run the table. But I will say this: the Steelers are still a good team. Now, are they the best team in the AFC in the NFL? No. We all know that the Chiefs are the best team. Why? Because they can outscore anybody at any time. Their defense isn't the greatest, but when they need to make a play, they have that playmaker in Patrick Mahomes who can go out and do what he needs to do, and he'll hook up with a Tyreek Hill or a Kelsey or a Mecole Hardman, yada, yada, yada. But still, they're not quite exposed. I think that they just need to find a way to run the ball more efficiently, and maybe they'll present a challenge for Kansas City if and when they do meet in the AFC playoff championship or AFC conference championship, if that happens, because anything can happen when you're talking playoff football. But other than that, man, I want to get on the show, man. He's been waiting patiently. My boy, Barry Grant, he is the host of the All Even podcast. You can check him out on Instagram, as well as where you can catch any podcast at, man. What's up, Barry? How you doing, boss?
Mr. Flowers, how you doing, man?
Pretty
What's
good, man.
poppin'?
Hey, man, I'm excited to have you back. You're the first returning guest.
Oh, really?
First
Listen, I'm
returning guest.
I'm making history all over the place. I was the first NBA guest or the first guest. Now I'm
Yeah.
the first returning guest. I like it. I
Well,
like it.
I knew I was going to bring you back because you're a great guy, you're a good character too, and you always got really good stuff to talk about. And I feel like why not bring you back as the first guest ever?
Yes,
So,
sir.
but how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I just got off the All Even Live with Mr. Mike
Right.
Guido.
I
So
saw that.
it's
I saw that.
always
I
a
caught a clip of
contentious
that.
back and forth with that knucklehead. So it's great.
So I wanted to get into some things that are going on. Obviously, we got Houston and James Harden. So I caught a glimpse of what you were talking about on your live with Mike Guido in regards to Houston and James Harden. So I guess it's reported now that he was going to show up to training camp, but then now he's like, I want to trade. What are your thoughts on James Harden and what do you think Houston will do?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll say the same thing that I said on my live. It's basically James Harden is behaving like a petulant child. It's basically like, okay, your father gave you the keys to the Bentley. You crashed the Bentley.
Right.
And then you're telling your father, I'm not going to fix the car. I'm just going to go buy another car and drive that. So James Harden has gotten, over the 8 years that he's been in Houston, they've given him Dwight Howard. They've given him Chris Paul. They've given him Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
They've given him John Wall. All of these players came with a price tag. They had to give up and mortgage their future to get
Right.
these guys.
Right.
And they're all gone now. And the common denominator is James Harden.
Yep.
He's still here. So this is a guy that is one of the greatest scorers of all time. But this is a franchise that has given him everything that he wanted.
Yeah.
And they got close to winning an NBA title back in 2018.
Yeah.
They did not get it done. Now it's time to kind of restart, rebuild it a little bit. And he needs to understand that just because you want to go to Brooklyn or Philly or wherever, it's not your
Decision.
it's not your like duty, or you're not obligated to get traded. You're not they don't owe you anything. They've done everything they possibly can for you. So what you have to do now is be a professional, show up and play basketball. Because at the end of the day, if you sit out the season, here's a surprise thing about the NBA. It's not like football. If you sit out a year, your contract is still there. If you sit out 2 years, you're still going to be on the hook for 2 years with a player option.
Right.
So you have to play.
Yeah. You got no choice.
There's no holdout here.
Nope. None. So
You know?
what do you think about the Wall trade? Like, so now Wall's coming into Houston potentially to play with Harden. I'm not really a fan of it. I didn't think they got any better. I get why they had to move Westbrook, but I'm like, John Wall, you couldn't get Bradley Beal instead of John Wall?
Well, I'll tell you this, Ryan. The reason why it's funny to me, because I had said it on my show, I said it on my podcast, I said it on my live, a couple of times before. It's the same player trade.
Yeah.
I traded my guy. You traded the guy for the guy that you just traded for. So it's the same person. And what's funny about that is that they have the same contract. So that was the only deal that actually made sense because they're identical. They're two players that are polarizing figures, two talented players, but they're also two players that don't make their teammates any better, and they're not big time playoff performers.
Right.
So when you think about the fit with James Harden, it's not going to work. Why? Because there is no perfect fit with James Harden. His usage is so high.
Yeah.
There's no player that you can put around him other than guys that defend and just shoot threes.
Right.
That's what they tried to do last year
Right.
by having a small roster with no bigs on the team. They had, Tucker at 6'4" at center. That's the only type of team that you can put around James Harden to make it work. And it still didn't work because at the end of the day, that can't win you championships.
Right.
So they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. It'll never get any better because James Harden refuses to change his game.
No, I agree, and I heard you on the live with Mike Guido earlier. You mentioned that. What did you say? Like, man, what was that thought you had? And it was good. I should have wrote it down. But you mentioned, obviously, you talked about how he he's the guy. I mean, he's been there this whole time, and they still can't move off. But you made a comment about him as like in his game. I forgot what it was. Man, I wish I could.
Oh yeah, I said that his game is basically it's dribble, 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 step back, it's dribble, dribble, dribble. I'm gonna flail my arms and get to the line. There's no other variations to his game. So you can't, like, if you look at other players around the league, you can say, man, Giannis is a great player. You can be able to put a point guard with Giannis, and it'll make things a little easier for Giannis. Man, if you give LeBron James some shooters or a guy that can be able to score the ball a little bit, it can be able to make that offense dynamic. When you talk about the Rockets, you're like, I don't know what do you put here. Like you got one of the best point guards of all time in Chris Paul that was willing to be the second fiddle. He came there saying, "Listen, I just want to help James. I want to make things easier for James Harden to score." And when he got there, all they wanted him to do was sit on the perimeter and wait for the basketball.
Right.
Chris Paul is a point guard. He is a natural point guard. He's a true point guard. So
Right.
you would think that they would run the offense through Chris
Through him.
Paul and allow James Harden to work off the ball. But here's the problem. James Harden is one of the worst off the ball movers in the NBA. He
Right.
doesn't move well
He
without the
doesn't move at
basketball.
all. He doesn't.
That's why when you saw him in Westbrook, it didn't work. It was, okay, I'm going to score, and then you're going to come down and score. I'm going to score, you're going to come down and score.
Yeah.
There was
Like some
no
2K stuff.
movement off the ball. They're just
Right.
standing there, waiting to figure it out. That's not basketball.
And I haven't been a Westbrook fan in a while. Like I know he kind of helped carry the OKC after KD left, but like when he went to Houston, I was like, that wasn't a good fit. And obviously it didn't work out. But back to Harden. I mean, Harden, like you said, he's a great scorer. He's a great talent, but is he a championship type of
No,
pedigree type of player? He's
no,
not. He's definitely not. He needs to be paired with somebody else. But like you said, you can't pair him because he's unpairable because
right,
of his game.
right.
It's not like he can learn to be like, all right, let me move off the ball, let me go over here, let me do that. He, like you said, he comes down, dribble, 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 falls back, flails his arms, like he said,
Yeah, yeah,
and go from there. So
yep.
speaking of other like polarizing players, so Kyrie was in the news or was brought up again about him making some comments. I believe it was on KD's podcast in regards to clutchness and how he's going to be on the team finally with another clutch player in KD. LeBron, got the transcript, which was funny. I felt like he had to get his team on it to get the transcript to read the whole thing. But anyway, do you think that was a low blow by Kyrie about what he said?
Of course it is. Of course it is. But the thing is, the world knows this,
right?
but Kyrie Irving will make it seem like we're the problem.
Right.
So I'm gonna say something like, I'm gonna go on somebody else's show and say, yo, I've never had a host that's been this great. I'm throwing a shot at my man Ryan Flowers. I don't have to say your name. But then when you come and check me about it, I'm gonna say, nah, they just blowing it out of proportion. They mixing up my words. I said it. Like, this is the thing with Kyrie Irving. It's like he feels that he's smarter than everybody. How he thinks is like on a different plane, and we don't understand where he's coming from. No, the problem with Kyrie Irving is that he has a problem with articulating his point. Like, you can be able to, he could have been able to big up his teammate without downplaying his previous teammates.
Right.
He can be able to say, yo, KD's my friend. He's one of my good friends. He's one of the most clutch players to ever play this game, and I can't wait to get on the basketball court with him and see what he can do.
Right. But
you're not throwing shade at nobody.
Animosity between him
right.
And LeBron, though. Like,
and that's
more on his side than LeBron's side.
That's the thing with Kyrie is that he's always doing it. Like, everybody says that he's very misunderstood, and granted, he definitely is. He's a very nice person off the court. He does a lot for the community. He does a lot of charity work. I'm not coming at him like that. I'm just saying that at this stage of his NBA career, I would expect him to be a little bit more mature. Because, I said this on my live that we saw Kobe Bryant when he was alive. He went from this child to this rebellious young adult to this older veteran that became a teacher, that became so revered around the league and respected because we saw him grow up in front of our eyes. Kyrie Irving is the same thing. He came into the league very early, but we still are waiting for him to mature and get to that spot where he can be able to say, listen, I admit my mistakes. I admit my shortcomings. I want to make sure that this run in Brooklyn is special. I want to make sure that I don't make the same mistakes that I did in Boston, the same mistakes that I did in Cleveland. I want to be able to be a better teammate and a better leader as the point guard of this Brooklyn Nets team. I'm not seeing that.
No, me neither. I mean, he's never been like a leader. I mean,
no.
He went to Boston. I remember he had like they were like at a pep rally and he was like, "Yeah, I'm here in Boston," and then like the next year, I'm ready to go. So
Right, listen to this. Like, you're real quick. He issued a statement that he's not going to speak to the media all season.
Really?
Yeah. So now you're creating controversy when there shouldn't have been one. Because guess what? I don't know if Kyrie knows this, but speaking to the media is a part of your NBA contract.
Yeah,
It's one of your obligations
you
as an
have to do
athlete.
it. You have to do it.
So what I said was on my show, I said that Kyrie Irving can take this stance all he wants. If he wants to be a weirdo, if he wants to stand in the closet for 6 hours with the light off, it does, whatever he wants to do is
By all
fine.
means. Right.
But if Brooklyn enables him by not fining him every game, that's a concern.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I guess he can go up there and do the whole Marshawn Lynch thing and say, "Hey, I'm just here to
And Leo,
cause a
listen,
fire."
Marshawn showed up. I don't think Kyrie is going to, he's not even going to try to appear. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. This guy is just,
He's
I
an
hope that
incredible
he gets it
basketball
right
player,
one
but
day.
but tragically, his downfall is gonna be his behavior. I mean, like
Yeah,
he
it's
arguably
gonna
could
be
go
his
down
own
as one of
brain.
the
That's gonna be his
he can
downfall.
right. He can arguably go down as one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Like
Oh,
no one can
100%.
score like him. The way he finishes, or at least greatest finishers of all time.
Right.
And because he's an idiot sometimes, most of the time,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, man. So I don't know what this dude. I'm over Kyrie Irving. I hope LeBron when they play him busts him in his ass, dunks on him, and does the whole whatever he needs
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
But so obviously with the NBA preseason starting I believe 2 days from now if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. I think on the 11th. So man, so what is that going to be like 3 to 4 games? I think I read, and then the season starts on the 22nd. Is that right?
22nd, yeah.
Okay. Do you think the players, not even the players, but let's look at the Heat in the Lakers' perspective, right? So I mean, the finals just ended in October. You think they got a legitimate gripe to be like, come on, man, like what are we doing? Why are you starting the season so early? I thought we could start it in 2021. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they definitely have a gripe. The Lakers have a bigger gripe than the Heat do because the Heat have a bunch of young players. So, it's nothing for them to be able to, get back into it and play. But however, even still, no matter if you're young or not, preparing for an NBA season, you have to let your body heal. You got to recover, and that takes. Some players take a month and a half off, and then they kind of ramp up their schedule. You weren't able to do that now. If you take a month off, now you have what, 6 weeks to prepare, a couple of weeks to prepare
Right,
for
because
a
they're already in
season.
training camp. They're in training
Yeah,
camp.
so it's like for the Lakers, it's really going to be interesting to see how they handle it. I'm sure you're going to see a lot of shortened minutes for LeBron James early on because they have such a deep roster this season
Yeah.
where they can be able to not play like if they're up 15 in the fourth quarter, LeBron James can probably sit for the rest of the next
Pretty much.
7 minutes. There's no reason to kind of like push the needle early on in the season. You may see the Lakers even struggle a little bit early on in the season, but it doesn't really matter about that. It's about them getting their rhythm, them getting healthy, them being able to hit that stride and then prepare for the playoffs.
Right.
So, you'll probably see a lot of teams, kind of struggle out the gate a little bit because of that quick turnaround. Not the teams like the Knicks, the teams that weren't invited into the bubble, because
Right.
listen,
Like the
they've had a
Warriors
long
and
time
all
off.
them.
They've had a
They've
long
been
time
off
off.
since what March? I mean since
Yeah,
April.
so they're ready to go. They're ready to go.
And then I saw that the league instituted a rule, or maybe it's been in effect, but maybe they're going to enforce it. I guess now you can't sit players for like no reason, especially
Oh
during
yeah,
prime time games. So that's going to be interesting now. Like guys like Kawhi.
The
Like
ex-
LeBron's never been that type of dude, really.
no. LeBron
Like
only missed 4 games last season.
right, and Kawhi should be ashamed. Like come on, man. Like you should be ashamed of yourself. This man been in like 500 finals in a row.
Yeah.
And he plays, well into May, obviously in a normal season, May, June. And here you are load managing like
Yeah. Listen, it's funny that you bring that up. I was waiting for you to finish your point so I can say I call it the Kawhi clause. It's definitely the Kawhi clause.
Yeah,
Like
no, it
Adam
is.
Silver said, I have had enough of you. I've had enough of you. Like if you want to be the king of LA, you better make sure that you're there playing.
Right. Even
You know
on
what I
your
mean?
team, even on your team, and especially there's turmoil in that Clippers locker room,
Oh yeah.
and I
Oh
bet
yeah.
you some dudes feel some type of way of him not playing.
Of
So
course.
you know, it's like, dude, like you're supposed to be the guy, but you only play two times a week. It's like, what good is that?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
granted they still were I mean, they had one of the best records in the NBA, but it's like, the Clippers, they're a whole, that's a, I'm not gonna say
Yeah,
they're a
listen,
joke, but
they have to be better, man, and it starts
yep,
with their
their
two
guys,
stars or
right?
quote unquote stars because I don't
No,
consider Paul George a
PG's not a
star.
star. No, he's not
Yeah,
a
he's
star.
not a star.
He's like
But
a better. He's like a way better
Kawhi Leonard
Kuzma.
sets the pace. If he
Yeah.
sets the trend or the the example, the Clippers can be able to make some noise. Now, are they as talented as they were last season? No, they still have point guard problems.
Yep.
They have better rim protection now. The fact that they got Serge Ibaka, I like the addition of Luke Kennard, the
Yeah, the
shooter out of
shooter. The
Detroit.
shooter. Yep.
So I like the additions that they've made, but the one position that they should have upgraded was point guard
Point guard.
because they thought that they had the inside track on Rondo, and Rondo said, "Nah,
He
nah."
took the money. He took the
He
money.
took the money. So
And I ain't mad at him.
we'll see.
Why not take the money? You got 2 rings already.
Right, right.
This your last paycheck,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
probably your last biggest
But
paycheck.
look out for the Clippers. Look out for the Clippers in the buyout market. Like I'm sure there's going to be some point guards that are going to be available in the buyout market. So they'll be contenders there. And you can see you'll see the Lakers probably add a piece or two with the buyout market. So
You think
the buyout market is always good for contenders.
right? You think Lakers move on from Kuzma? You think they find a way to
Uh,
trade him?
it's tough, man. I think what we're seeing is that I don't think they're going to extend him.
Right.
They're going to let him play out on his last deal. And if he balls out, he controls his fate because at the end of the day, the Lakers going to be able to match whatever contract he gets because he'll be a restricted free agent. So if he has a great season, it not only benefits the Lakers because they'll have another weapon that they can be able to utilize in the playoffs in the finals, but they'll also but Kuzma, excuse me, he'll also get his money.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win. But if he doesn't perform, he'll be a free agent, and the Lakers will probably not tender him, and he'll go find elsewhere.
And some will sign him just based off his potential.
He listen, he'll definitely he's not going to get flushed out of the league. He's
No.
talented enough to stay. It's just that where does he fit? Because he's not fast enough to be a three,
No.
and he's not really big enough to guard fours. So
Right.
he's a little bit in between. So if he can be able to kind of get better defensively and show that he can be able to guard twos, guard threes, guard fours, he's gonna make a lot of money. So that's where he needs to show up. Offensively, he's up and down. He has that streaky game. He needs to improve on his jump shot, his 3-point shooting. He needs to improve on his handle. But defensively, if he can bring a that dynamic to the Lakers defensively, he is going to open up another door for him for his potential.
Absolutely. 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
So before I let you get out of here, with the season starting, what's some exciting trends or stories or things that you're looking forward to? Maybe like a team, a player, your rookie watch. What are your thoughts going into this?
There's a couple. There's a couple. So the first team that I'm going to watch is the Big Top Nets. That's what I call them. I call them the Big Top Nets because they're the biggest circus in the NBA.
Yeah,
They have one of the weirdest coaching staffs I've ever seen.
yeah.
They have one of the weirdest pairings I've ever seen in regards to two razor thin, sensitive superstars in Kyrie Irving and KD.
Right.
And I'm curious to see how it works. According to Kyrie, that they don't have a coach. Everybody can be the coach. So we're going to see how that actually works when it comes to like the last 2 minutes of the game. Who's going to be drawing up plays? Is it going to be KD? Is it going to be Kyrie? Is it going to be Amari Stoudemire? Who?
Athletic trainer.
Exactly. It's going to be the trainer. Who else? The ball boy? I don't know. The rookie that I'm looking to see, I'm really interested in watching Obi Toppin. I want to see him, and I want to see Denny Abdija.
Okay. Okay.
That kid went 9 to Washington. He should have went much higher than that.
Higher than that.
He
Yep.
has the potential. He has Luka potential.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
he has Luka
that'll be good
potential.
for New York because they need it.
Yeah. So
They
if
definitely need
Obi Top, my pick for rookie of the year is Obi Toppin. I think Obi Toppin has the potential to score 20 points a game. He has that type of potential.
Yeah, oh, he's definitely got the game, and
Yeah.
he's mature. He's one of the older players. His game is kind of NBA ready. He's got the
Yeah.
size. It's just a matter of can he pick up on the NBA game quicker,
Yep.
sooner than later. But Barry, man, I appreciate you, brother, man. I know it's what 7 o'clock your time, but I appreciate you getting on, man. It's always a
Yes, sir.
pleasure, dog. Oh, but one last thing before you go, man, because you, you had me rolling this morning because you played that clip about the Jets, man, and man, like, how is Adam Gase still employed by the Jets, bro? I don't get it.
I don't know, man. He has to have some pictures on Chris Johnson or Woody Johnson or
Something,
something
man.
because I don't get it, bro. I've never seen a head coach with this much pull and it's like he has no response. Like, they're not blaming him for nothing. So Greg Williams, as crazy as he is, can
Right.
have one of the worst defensive calls in the history of the game. But if people know Greg Williams, he's
That's what he does.
always been a nut.
That he's a gambler. He rolls the
He's a
dice. He's
gambler.
aggressive.
So
He's
this
aggressive.
this doesn't surprise me.
No.
But the fact that he got fired, right? The report was Greg Williams gets fired.
Right.
Then Gase comes out and says, "No, I
That's
was
what
the one
happened.
that fired him."
I know. It's like what?
What? So
Like
where's Joe Douglas? What's going
right.
on?
Yeah. Well,
I
they
don't.
didn't like each other, and it was apparent early on in the season.
Who does like Adam Gase? Nobody does.
I don't think his kids even like him.
No, he's the most hated man in New York. If you put Dolan, if you put the Wilpons, and if you put Donald Trump in a room, everybody will look at Adam Gase first.
Right. Yeah, no, he definitely doesn't need to get another head coaching job in the NFL. He needs to go coach like JUCO somewhere.
Right?
He needs to. I don't know, but Barry, man,
Nah.
appreciate you, brother, man. We gotta do this again.
Yes, sir.
Let everybody know where they can catch you at, man.
Yeah, man. You can catch me on Instagram at All Even Podcast. You can catch me on Twitter as well, All Even Podcast. I'm on YouTube, so check out the show if you want to get some laughs or whatever. Check out my lives on Wednesday with Mike Guido. Normally it's at 5:30, so it's definitely entertainment.
Appreciate you, dog. Hey, take care of yourself, all right, boss.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Peace. Hey, the legendary Barry Grant Jr., man. Check him out. He's a really good dude, really good show. I listen to his stuff. Honestly, a lot of times when I'm driving or just doing stuff around the house, good listen to. You can catch him anywhere pretty much where all podcasts are stored, like YouTube, Spotify, or wherever, man. But good job. So appreciate him coming in on today. So last topic before I get out of here, this one is very interesting because it involves the fight game. It was just announced that Floyd Mayweather will fight Logan Paul, I believe, February 20th next year. Um, and I'm bringing this up because the Tyson Roy Jones fight made like $80 million off of like pay-per-view. That's a lot of money for Roy Jones and Mike Tyson, who were, I'm not gonna even say they past their primes. They're like their primes came back, left, back again, and it's gone. So, but people still clued in, and a lot of purists of fighting and MMA or whatever, they have a problem with this, and I get it. This is a show, and one thing that attracts people to any type of event is the show. Now, if you're a purist, you're not going to buy this fight. You don't care about it because this is not really a fight. It's an exhibition in a sense. Because look, the Tyson Roy Jones fight, there was some type of no knockout clause. I can tell because the way Tyson was carrying himself around the ring, he could have easily annihilated Roy Jones, but he didn't. Body shots, limited headshots. He wasn't trying to go out for the knockout. For one, I like boxing. I think boxing is a tremendous sport. I don't watch it as often, but I'm gonna watch this fight. I'm gonna pay for this fight because it's entertaining. It's entertaining, and I know people that are heavily invested in the fight game, and it's not disrespecting them because this is different, but this is very entertaining. And if they can get Snoop on the call again, man, I'm all for it. Because boxing is one of those things. Like if you go to a real fight, and I have yet to attend a live boxing event, and I'm waiting for that opportunity when my boy War Machine DJ Zamora fights. Check him out too at DJJ3 Boxing, I think it is. But anyway, he knows who he is. But check him out. But he'll be the first fight I'm ever gonna attend, and I'm holding off. And I know that's gonna be legendary. But this Logan Paul Mayweather fight, Mayweather's gonna win. We know that. He's a professional fighter. He's 50-0. He's a world champion. Who's Logan Paul? Some type of YouTuber. It is what it is. So you gotta not be so anal about it. Just take it for whatever it's worth. If you don't care about the storyline or whatever, then that's fine, and I respect that. But the Tyson fight was hilarious. It was entertaining. I couldn't even think about what round they were in. And typically when I do watch boxing, sometimes I find myself watching the rounds and being like, oh man, this is a 12 round fight, and there's like no action. And I get it. Boxing is not all about knockouts. It's about the sweet science. It's about posturing. It's about strategy and whatnot. This fight will not be about strategy because I already know these two guys are going to come out. They're going to be talking smack on Instagram or social media. It is what it is. But so I'm going to watch it. I'm going to enjoy it, especially if they get the Unk on there, Snoop Dogg, to commentate. So, but other than that, that's all I got, man. Appreciate everyone for hopping on. For those of you who are going to watch this later, thank you for taking the time. I want to give a shout out to Barry Grant Jr. of All Even Podcast for hopping on, man. Always good stuff with him. But other than that, you guys can catch me on YouTube. Hit that notification link. Please subscribe, share my content with everyone that you come across, man. I really greatly appreciate that. Thanks for All Pro Digital for helping me out, man. Appreciate you guys. Until next time, man. This is Clutch Sports Talk with me, Ryan Flowers. Never settle till the work is done. Let's go.